Becky. Oh, she's not here. She's on the phone.
Come on up.
We have to, once that gets in, we have to be quiet a minute, so we can start. We ready? Okay, great. We're ready. Okay, Barbara, we're ready.
Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. It is July 28th, 2022, and it is 3:02 in the afternoon, and this is the meeting of the Cultural and Environmental Learning Center Advisory Board, commonly known as CELCAB. And I would like for the meeting to be called to order, and we can begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and we'll begin the roll call with our town council representative, Jim Adderhold.
Here.
Lori Wolf.
Betty Simpson.
Sherry Smith.
Barbara Hill.
Seal Spuler.
And Allison is here. There she is. We just did the roll call.
Allison Geeson.
Yes. And our historic advisor, Bill Grace, who's unfortunately is very ill, is obviously excused.
Also, I heard from Ellen Vaughn and Becky Warner, who were also excused.
Okay, so all have excused absences. Thank you. Approval of the minutes, and we have 2 minutes to approve, one from May 26th, which is our regular CELCAB meeting, and the other from June 24th, which is the combined meeting with the board cab to discuss the merger.
I
So-
move the approval of the May 26th.
All right, thank you, Betty. A second?
I'll second.
And any changes, additions? Actually, I have one, and it's just really more for clarification. I just think it needs to be added for that purpose. For the May 26th meeting on page 2 of page 4, the second paragraph, it said coordinating efforts with both groups was the intent, and she indicated 90% of the Bay Oaks redevelopment project decisions were complete. 90% of Bay Oaks is not complete. It's the development project specifically that was the point of that statement. So I'd like to just interject in that the Bay Oaks redevelopment project to that. Any other additions? There being none, vote to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved minutes for May 26th, and now we have June 24th. Also, I've had an opportunity to review those minutes, as I'm sure all of you have had. May we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes.
All right, thank you,
I'll
Sherry.
second.
Okay,
Lori.
Thank you. Wait a minute, hold on just a moment, I've got to do the... Okay, this is the one, okay. So who did the first, I'm sorry?
I did.
That was you, Sherry, thank you. Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Public comment, and we have our esteemed mayor in attendance at our meeting this afternoon. Would you like to speak, or would you like to speak to a particular part of the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ladies, good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for your service to the town, as always. My purpose here today is to get your blessing for an idea that I had some time ago after our dear friend Dan Hughes passed away. I was thinking about some sort of honor, some sort of tribute that we could do for Dan. And I started thinking about different monuments around town, different streets and so forth, and kicking different ideas around. And then I kept coming back to the Mound House, because he and Ann had such an affinity and a love for the property, and which was evidenced over the years with all the work and contributions that they made to the property. So I came up with the idea of maybe we could name that loop that swings around the Mound House. I don't know what you call it. Shell driveway is what it's called right now, I guess. But it's a loop, it's an alley, it's a road, it's whatever you want to call it, and name it. But I was thinking that would be a nice tribute to Dan or Dan and Ann, to remember them by. All of the contributions that Dan made to the town over the years. I think it would be fitting to honor his family, by naming something after him, and that's what I kept coming back to, was the Mound House. You'll remember Lori, Betty, Sherry, Seal. You'll all remember when John Mulholland passed away, and John was also a good friend to the town, and it was shortly thereafter where John had a piece of the beach named after him out there at Mulholland Point, which was fitting for John. And of course, the tree and the awards and so forth and so on. And as I say, that was fitting for Mayor Mulholland. And I just think that something fitting should be done for Mayor Hughes as well. And this is the idea, and it's something that I want to present to the town council as soon as possible. And I was hoping to get the blessing of the committee here. Those of you that are closest to the Mound House spend a lot of your time up there, and I'm hoping you feel the same way as I do, that we could do something for the Hughes family on behalf of Dan, and hope that maybe Dan is up there smiling down and saying, "Well done, Ray." So anyhow,
Yes, he is, I
yeah,
bet.
well, that would be nice. So anyhow, ladies, that's the purpose of my visit here today, and I'll sit down and listen, and if I'll hang around, I guess, for a little while, and if there are any questions, feel free to ask me, and maybe vice versa, if I can help out with anything. Okay? Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, and I think we all share the sentiment of Dan and his wife Ann, and both of them very beloved on the island, and certainly Dan has given time and talent and resources to making the Mound House what it is today. Absolutely. Moving on to item number 6, with that in mind, it actually brought up a very interesting question which we hadn't considered. And this is a museum, a historic museum, so because we're going for AAM museum accreditation, it's very important for us to keep with best practices of museums, and also to make sure that when we go through that map assessment program, especially knowing that we're relatively young and we're making these decisions as we go along, that we never developed a naming rights policy for the Mound House. But your point of bringing that up certainly is timely, and probably we should have considered that sometime in the past. And so when you brought this up at our May 26th meeting and it was tabled, we had an email from Bill Grace, who was actually, it was written by his wife Susan, because Bill, of course, is ill. And so we got this email from Bill via Susan in response to your request. And you all received a copy of that?
Yes.
But
I
for the-
did not.
You did not?
No, it wasn't on my, I had trouble with my computer. When it was gone, it was hacked.
Oh, dear. Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
So
Well,
Seal's still working on it.
okay. All right. Well, I'm reading it for the minutes. To Allison Geeson and CELCAB members, in reference to naming the Shell Drive at the Mound House. At the very beginning of the Mound House project, it has been my goal to maintain an authentic restoration, preservation, and operation of the site. Of course, the goal included complying with the Secretary of State Interior standards. One of the main requirements in restoring a site is to not create something that was never there. A decision was made to restore the Mound House to the 1920 period. Thus, anything that did not exist on the site in that time period would be considered inappropriate. Obviously, no Sand Drive named for a person existed at that time. Frequently, the entity responsible for fundraising must use naming rights as a central fundraiser. In the Mound House case, most of the funding came from federal, state, and local funds. Thus, it was unnecessary to receive funding from the general public. If adequate funding had not yet been acquired, CELCAB would have had to have named a committee to establish appropriate criteria for naming rights. This would keep the process both ethical and historical. No such committee nor criteria has been established. Should an issue be raised regarding the naming of the drive, a committee should be appointed to make that decision. Another concern I have is if the town names the lane, the post office picks up on that, thus causing us to lose the historic Connecticut address that has been there since the plat was filed way back over 100 years ago. My recommendation as historic advisor for the Mound House is to adopt a policy of naming any areas within the National Register site to reflect the historic record. Respectfully submitted, Bill Grace. I think that there should be discussion. We were looking at this at our last meeting, as I mentioned earlier, with the idea that today would be that conversation. I think it is correct that we should establish a policy, and I think it's up to us as advisory board members to have that conversation. There are a number of issues at play. What areas are considered opportunities for naming? How long is that naming going to exist? Will that be in perpetuity? Will there be a limit? What will be the criteria for funding the opportunity to have something named? Would it be 50,000? Would it be 100,000? So those are all questions that I have for all of you, and I think we just need to have that conversation, starting with now. So any thoughts?
I want to let you all know that I gave everybody a short list of things on the outside of the property that could be named, that you all have discussed some, like benches and things like that. Just to start the discussion. It's by no means an exhaustive list, but it gives you an idea of some of the things that have been discussed and that you all can add to and discuss about. So, and then that's on your table there.
So on the sheet that we were just given a few moments ago from Allison, it talks about naming opportunities. The dock being one, the observation pier being another, the kayak launch, bird baths, gardens, picnic tables, bee habitat, outside benches, bike racks, and sponsorship of programs and events, which would certainly be ongoing. And so those could be funded, and those could be naming opportunities as a result. But again, we've not made any of this part of a policy, nor have we entered this into the strategic plan. So today's conversation certainly will point to making that all happen.
So I will say that I did exhaustive research with the American Alliance of Museums, and that's the accreditation. As Barbara mentioned, we're going for accreditation, so it's always good to do best practices. Many museums have naming rights because it is a need. People love our site, just like many other sites across the United States, and they want to be a part of our site. So it's a natural for CELCAB to make a recommendation on that, to establish the criteria. I'm just going to tell you they're all over the board. It's really up to us to see what fits for our site best. So there is no template to use everywhere because we're not like everywhere. And many different museums that I have that I have researched are accredited by the American Alliance of Museums, and it is up to CELCAB to kind of establish the criteria, and just like Barbara said, what is it that could be up for naming rights, and then what would that benchmark be, and would it be in perpetuity, or would it be 5 or 10 years? If you all know, this is the same kind of thing, you know, different Hertz Arena and Tropicana Field, and there's all kinds, it's a very similar thing, and some have a time period to where they do. Some are in perpetuity. So there is no right or wrong way to do this. Accreditation is not going to hinder on this, but they do want us to have an established criteria. So there are some things for accreditation that we need to do, the committee needs to make a recommendation on. And I think it's a really healthy discussion because it can really help support our site and also, you know, fulfill the need for people to want to give to us and for those who have given to us and things like that. So if you have detailed questions, I'd be glad to answer them on what the research that I've pulled. But like I said, there's no, you know, exact template. So you all are free to kind of see what you think is the right criteria for the Mound House. Yes, Seal?
My question is just because of the period room that Dan and his wife gave, will that have any effect on what our decision would be?
So that was dedicated to his wife, Anne, and that plaque will remain.
That will remain?
Yes, that was
Okay.
something that was grandfathered in, and I personally, professionally, do not think that that should be part of this discussion. It's already in, and I would not want for that to be taken away.
Well, I just wondered, because that's so very evident of, you know, you
And
haven't
so,
really
and that's
discussed
what
that.
the plaque reads, is, you know, in dedication to his wife, his loving wife, Anne, so.
Right,
And
right.
the room furnishing, so.
Okay, so that will
Right,
stay
that-
just the way it is.
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
That's good.
Well, and so that's great that he's already being recognized, and more importantly, that he was being recognized and his wife while he was alive. You know, that's really important, I believe too.
He got a kick out of bringing his Yale friends there.
That was always fun. He did. And that's another establishment in the criteria that is very important, is people who have passed away and for this naming right. So there's little benchmarks to be able to discuss in any policy. So that would be one, you know, what are the benchmarks? What are the items or areas or that you all, and then, you know, somebody that is no longer with us. And then is it in perpetuity, or does it have, you know, a time limit on it, depending on what it might be.
So there's a lot to decide.
Yes, there is.
Right. So do
Yeah,
we need to
this is
form
a
a
great
committee
list.
first?
I
Yeah,
don't know that we
or-
need to necessarily
just us
form a
being-
committee. I think we can sort of do this as part of the advisory board, and maybe, because it is a very complex issue, I mean, obviously, there's a different naming opportunity, and i.e. funding opportunity, that would be different for the observation pier than it would be for a bird bath, right?
Oh, right.
Right, and, you know, obviously, we've begun to have that conversation with the benches, which the Friends of the Mound House is doing. And it could very well be that we're talking about, you know, say the observation pier would be a $100,000 contribution to have that pier named after someone.
Well, we have Kelly's board there.
Those are those, what do they call those, where they're.
It's our plaque,
The
yeah.
oyster dock things.
Yes,
And we had naming for those as well.
yes.
And how much were those, 500 apiece?
No, there were more than that.
More than that?
Yes.
Go back and look, Barbara.
That's a great point. I'd forgotten all about those. And how many did we put in?
Two. I think there's one on the side. I was just there. Yeah, I believe there's two. I don't think,
Oyster bed, I'm trying to remember what they're called. Do you recall? Oyster bed,
Just put oyster habitat. It was
Habitat,
something that,
thank you.
know, that I forget what the reef, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there, yeah. Sign says reef
Yes.
beneath our
The
feet.
filters.
Yeah, and she is mentioned in memory of her because the family purchased those. from her.
yes. You can look down and see them cleaning the water, 30, what is it?
the filtering.
30 gallons a minute or something like that.
I know, it's a great, great idea.
So to me, that would be like a program that was sponsored, because that is a talking point of one of our conservation programs.
Yes, that's right, that's right,
And an interpretive sign was created.
right.
Yeah, there's a lot of
So, I don't know about you, but I find it very difficult to come up with a policy today, because we're now just being presented. I mean, I don't want to be premature in terms of our giving adequate time to this
Do this, yeah.
policy draft. And of course, it sort of begs the question about, like, obviously, these are all modern additions to the historic property, so that ties in nicely with what Bill Grace was talking about. The historic structure of the museum itself is obviously, restored to the 1921, period. So that is, and fully funded with all of the grants that we received. And so that part is already named and done. So as far as the historic integrity of a name being placed in the interior of the museum itself, I think we will now be able to honor Bill Grace's wish to say, okay, if it's historic, it's not being named. But that doesn't mean that anything new that we've added to the facility, like the benches, like the observation pier, which, by the way, TDC funded,
Oh, they do.
and the
could-
kayak launch and the dock.
and the dock. And of course, I think part of the lab originally wasn't the 1921 period, but certainly part of that kayak, or the part of the offices was also, considered historic, where the lab actually took place
Oh, certainly.
in the 40s, right, yes. So I'd like to hear from you, please.
Well, we still have on here too the benches, which
Right.
are a good way of honoring someone. I think, that's still to come up, and we can probably get quite a few people in on that. I tell you, the problem that I ran into is the Friends, we wanted to do a founder's plaque.
Oh, yes.
Yep,
And so
Right.
we were on the committee.
yep, we
And
sure were.
it was almost like, it was like opening up a can of worms. Who do you name? Who don't you name? Do you include the first people that were volunteers? And of course, there's Ted and Marcia, which definitely should.
Martha Siegel George.
And Martha,
was it
yes,
Anita?
and, right, yep, so,
And Ted with his dog.
yeah, and, right, and Ted, so where do you stop? And that was, so we got real paranoid about it.
Yeah, we did.
Because, and I had, with our little plaque that we have out front for the Incorporation Committee, we were almost sued over that, because we had someone that claimed that they were on it, and they were not. They were on a following committee. And we were almost on a transition team, and they were almost, they were ready to sue us if that name didn't go on. So we just kind of let it rest for a while and then put it up. But, but I was just saying that it can become difficult, because you don't want to omit anyone, and yet, any hard feelings. So that's just my fear on naming things. But I think if we meet all these criteria, like you said, then there should not be a problem. If there's like funding involved, and so, and forgive me, but did Bill say that the Shell Mound Road was outside the purview or inside? He
I don't
didn't
know that
really,
he specifically,
No, he didn't, I think, Sherry, what I interpreted, this is just my interpretation,
Yeah.
is that he was afraid that it would affect our address.
the address, I
Yes,
got
yeah.
that.
and that's not.
Yeah, and I did not, I'm not a postmaster.
Yeah.
But I did not think that that was the goal for that, and that would have nothing to do with it. But I think that he didn't want our address to change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, if we can then be assured that if that were to be a naming opportunity, that regardless, that would not change our address. Is that right? Because that just goes, that's within. My question is,
Yeah,
was that road there in
It
1921?
was, that road has always been there. And the other thing that I was researching, roadways was on a naming right as well as pathways. So this is something that other museums have ventured into. And they're within their site limit like us, so, yeah. And all the photographs that I've ever seen of that site, even from the Case family, there is, because, they had the dock, so. And they had, of course, okay, so let me just rephrase that. I'm just gonna say, because they had a lot more land. So,
Yes.
I don't know where it went after it ventured the front of the property, but it's always been in the front of the property. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it had 172 acres, so, I mean, but I always remember that, because they had the dock there, so you can see in the archival pictures that there was that, as well as the one up to the house, because that's where a lot of the photographs were.
That's why I brought the book. if we have to
Yes,
check it.
oh, good, yes, seal, so it's in there. Yeah, so that would be
So
something.
then that drive is within the historic,
Well, there was some kind of pathway to the front. I don't know it looped around. So if some of it was there, I don't know, anybody can verify that it was like how the Longs had it. Because that was really, they were the ones to really finalize what property we have today.
right, because
Because
they're
they
the
sold off,
developers, and
that's
they're
right,
the ones
that's
that dug, Mr. Long is the one
Look
that
and
had all
see
the
what.
canals dug.
Yeah, right. Look and see what Seal has.
And I can't remember where, where it is either.
You want me to find it, Seal?
Yeah. I don't really know just exactly where it is. The pathway. It would be right around.
Well, definitely that front pathway is historic, this one here.
Yeah,
This
that
one?
is, yeah. You're getting close there, Seal.
Wait a minute, what is this right here? Oh, that just shows the
Yeah, that's that
property
one.
itself, yeah.
So this is when the family was there. Now that just shows that front one. There's the one that just shows the dock though that I want to see. That was that, yeah, let's see. You can't, I mean, you can see something, but you don't know where it goes. And that was in the James period, Delisle. It'll be right here,
That was before the,
not before 1921. Okay, so
and then
you
that
always see
walkway
this.
was also considered historic.
Yeah.
And then there's one with them on that pathway, I think. They're right in the front of that, isn't it? Yeah.
I was
So,
wondering.
see, the cut right there. So they had the dock.
Yeah,
So there was some kind of way to get there, whether it went all the way around, I mean, we don't have evidence of, because, their property was so much larger than it is today.
Wasn't there made mention of the fact that we now
Where's the
have
little
this botanical
Yeah,
garden?
see this?
The botanical, maybe the botanical garden that we've now established with all the winding pathways through
I
it?
was just gonna say.
The
that
native
could be a
landscape?
reason that asphalt pathway was not there. That
Oh,
would be-
correct,
That
correct,
would
yeah.
be something that could be named very easily.
And is that on
Nice
here? I don't-
Pathway that, no, because we actually approved that.
So the pathways and roads, that's something you all would like to add to the list. That was just a small starter list of things, so.
I just thought of
I
that.
think the
that
path,
kinda
the
goes
garden,
through,
can we call them the garden pathways?
garden.
Pathways would be.
'Cause that would be a nice ambling.
It is, and it's wide enough for two people to walk together.
Yeah, so I don't know that shell, I mean, I'll research that. That might be something from the Long family. I don't see that we have evidence of it being from 1921. So historically, would it have been there? I see one, the one in front of the house is.
Definitely
Yeah, right.
that one.
Definitely there.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
I think that would take care of it beautifully.
I
bet
think
I
the
would like
botanical,
that.
the pathway is, the garden pathways, and even the gardens themselves, I mean, all of the walking tour.
He'd be tickled we were talking about this at any time.
What would,
Exactly.
yeah, because I remember on CELCAB, when we approved the, whatever it is, that's not asphalt, it's rubber, yeah, when we approved all those to go in. So that's not to say there wasn't a path there to begin with, but don't
No,
think
we
so.
don't have-
There were never
So-
pathways through.
Right,
Yeah.
so I think that's something that was added that
Yeah.
would be very, very nice, and
Yeah, and I don't think the
Relaxing.
Circle Drive was, I don't think anybody can prove that that was original. We do know
Right.
the Long had it, but if, you know, Bill Grace is talking about the historical integrity, I don't know that we can,
Verify that.
yeah, I'd have to look further, but, you know, footpaths is what they did, you know, human footpaths, and you can see it in some of the, where they walk a lot, and that's where they go, but I know they
The
had.
Sandsburgs weren't.
Exactly, exactly. So the pathways or the shell mount, I mean, those are not, I don't think that those are historical. That one in the front definitely is, because that's the
So we
one,
couldn't name that one. And-
that's the one that leads up to the house.
Look at that pathway, that's a whole different shot than we've ever had. So we'll just kind of,
That's right, that's like
It's a whole different
between the
shot.
walkway and the tree.
Yeah. There's a couple of them that shows the cars
Yeah.
come from like the
yes.
tree,
Yeah, from the side.
right?
okay.
So it sounds to me like we've pretty much identified the opportunities for naming. With the addition of the benches, which the Friends is already working on, and the garden pathways, which would be sort of all-encompassing for all the pathways from one naming opportunity.
Right.
Now, I think is the question of the funding categories. In what category would a gift be in order for people to be eligible to be named? If somebody wants to give a contribution to honor someone, then that would be another criteria for us to have a conversation about. I know, you know, $250,000 was not considered unusual 20 years ago when they were building an art center and the gallery wouldn't want to be named, or the outside plaza or the front plaza. And, you know, the building itself was $1 million gift, and that was another private gift. But then they didn't receive they did receive some state funding, but they didn't receive a lot of local funding. They got the land from the city of Naples, but then that was it. The art center was privately funded.
Darn it, I'm trying to remember, we were gonna hold in our noggin when we went to Sanibel and went to their museum. I can remember saying, we wanna keep that idea of what they had. I can remember saying that, because it was so inclusive. Can you remember that?
I remember us going.
What, is that the Shell Museum you're talking
Yeah.
about? Okay.
Oh, I was thinking of the historical.
And I said, that's an idea we gotta keep in our noggin.
Sounds
Okay.
like somebody needs to go back there still.
Yes, I was gonna say, we'll have to review that.
Well, my noggin isn't what it was a day ago.
None of us are. Can we talk to Ray?
Yeah.
Yes, right. Do you have anything
Yeah,
that
would
you'd like to?
would any of that be acceptable to you if we didn't do the drive?
Well, again, the naming opportunity in terms of funding hasn't yet been
Right,
discussed either. So,
right.
and I don't know what the contributions of the family are interested in doing, what that level of giving is.
Well, you know, I read Bill's letter prior to coming here, and I never contemplated this naming rights when I was thinking about this, because in my mind, as an honorarium to the mayor, he's already paid for it. He's already paid for that. In my mind, this is a gift from the town to his family on behalf of his service. So I wasn't looking to make money on this for the town or anybody. So now the other opportunities that you have there, I don't begrudge you for doing that. It's good business. I mean, it's a good way to go. But you know, when we just named a street, an access down here, wasting away in Margaritaville for the developers of Margaritaville. I mean, I suppose I could have put Dan's name in for that originally, but it wasn't appropriate. It wasn't appropriate. It's appropriate for Dan's name to be associated with the Mound House. So that's why I had this in mind. I don't think it's appropriate to ask their family for money. I mean, when I'm dead and gone, if the town sees fit to name a fishing spot for me down by the bridge or something, that would be just fine with me, you know, but, you know, I'm not gonna ask anybody to pay for anything. That wasn't in my thinking at all. So, but,
Yeah,
and the other thing was the post office. Now, you know, it's Connecticut Street, right? That goes down into the Mound House. And does the Mound House have another address within the borders? I don't think it does, no. I'm quite sure, I can't speak for the postmaster, but I can almost speak for him. I'm quite sure that they won't have any problem retaining the address of the Mound House. My vision of this was to have Dan's name on a little sign that just says Hughes Loop or Hughes Lane or something like that around the Mound House. You know, a very innocuous sort of thing, but just something to memorialize Dan himself. You know, there's nothing in here that does that. There's nothing anywhere else on the island that does that. I'm looking for something, and this was my idea. And so the money part of it, you know, like I say, you know, if you want to sell the bricks and sell this and sell that to raise money, I mean, God bless you. I'm just looking for something small for Dan that I thought was appropriate, and the Mound House was where I thought that was most appropriate. So, and it's an honor. It's not only to honor Dan's memory, but it's also for his family. So when his kids and grandkids and great-grandchildren, whoever through the generations, can come down here and say, you know, that was great-grandpa. You know, he had something to do with that. You know, just as I would like to be remembered, Anita and Marcia and Ted, you know, all of us on that first council that voted to retain the Mound House, to keep the Mound House, to fight for it. And we did. And it's a great legacy. And it's come, I can't tell you how much I feel how far that's come over these years. It's phenomenal to me to look at it and think back on those days when we were getting it. You know, some crazy guy on a boat was trying to buy it for Rolodex watches. You know, Rolodex watches. You know, I mean, it was absolutely crazy. So it's come a long, long way, and I just thought that this would be a fitting tribute and something fun. You know, not only for the family, but for all of us who were involved from the beginning, and those to come yet. So I was, in my way, which is always, I try to keep everything simple, but I know that's not always the way when you get into these sort of properties and so forth. But again, I'm thinking about an innocuous sort of naming of a little lane, no big obtrusive sign or anything like that, just some little thing, a little plaque or something that says Hughes Loop or Hughes Lane or Hughes Way or, you know, anything. But just something to remember Dan by. And that would mean a lot to me, and I think a lot of other people on the island. So thank you, ladies. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah. Just showing our appreciation of everything that he did all through the years.
That's it. I mean, up until his 90th birthday seal, I mean, he was still working for the town. I mean, that's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of dedication, a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of him giving away this for nothing, you know, and so it was.
He was mayor for how many times?
I think he was mayor for 4 or 5 years. I think he had a good stretch, pretty good stretch running there.
Yeah, well, I thought so.
yeah.
I'm not quite sure, because
I think it was. I'd have to go back and look, Seal, but I think
Yeah.
I want to say about 4 years or so. But
something like that.
anyhow, but regardless, I mean, he really gave of his time, you know, with the original LPA and then the second council, and then, you know, he didn't give up. I mean, when he left council, he went back, you know, with the with the LPA, and then then he finished up with the audit committee. I mean, he never quit, and I mean, and that's real dedication, and that to me, that alone, forget about everything that we did together, but that alone is enough to remember somebody by. And
Yep.
so I thank you for your consideration.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other thoughts? Simply because we have so
No,
many
but I think this
questions.
opens up a lot of thought. And
Yeah.
we've
Could I-
been
could I-
talking about the benches
I'd
and.
love your input.
I just want to ask a question, Allison. I got a little confused on Shell Mound Road. you said the part that's right in front of the mound house itself is historic, but the rest of it may not be, is that?
So, yes, Jim, so in the photographs that we have, which is the only, proof that we have, the pathway that leads right up to the main structure,
Right.
that was original. We can't prove the loop around has any historical integrity that I know of.
So that would not be inconsistent then with the rest of the list, that part of the loop?
Right.
What could be considered new, yeah.
Anything, as Bill Grace said, he really doesn't want to compromise the original integrity. I will look further in the archives, but
But it doesn't sound, at least at this point, that would violate that historical integrity piece. And it sounds like, I don't want to put words in the mayor's mouth, but it sounds like the mayor's interested in recognizing the totality of Dan Hughes's service, public service to the town. Not only his service to the Mound House, but his service to the town of Fort Myers Beach. And the Mound House itself is somewhat unique in that it is a town property, and it's supported by the town. It doesn't generate enough revenue to be self-sufficient, so the town itself supports it. So there is a unique synergy between the Mound House and the town of Fort Myers Beach. And obviously, it being historic, Dan Hughes is part of our history, our town history now. And it seems to me consistent. I think for precedent standpoint, I think, and as we look at policies for accreditation, I think the concept of someone being deceased to be having something named after them, particularly these new items, and I think the mayor's right, this is not a time to go ask the family for more contributions, and I don't think anyone was trying to imply that, I don't think. But I'm just saying, but we ought to have some criteria to be consistent with what the mayor's asking today, and I think someone being deceased is very appropriate. I mean, for the United States federal government, you have to be deceased 5 years to be on a postage stamp. You have to be deceased 2 years to be on the currency. I don't think we need anything that stringent for the town, but just the policy matter of it being someone being deceased before something could be named to them, named for them. But I think I'm a history major as an undergraduate, and I love the history of I love the history of the Mound House, but I also love the fact that we're honoring a former mayor of our town who happened to be instrumental in the preservation of the Mound House itself. It has kind of a combination piece, and with the Mound House being its own unique situation, being really a town property versus its own sort of separate 501c3, it's sort of special in its own sense. So for them to marry that with someone involved in public service in the town seems appropriate. I mean, just as I think out loud.
Yeah, and then that's true, because you bring up a really good point, and some of the criteria, as you were mentioning, of other museums, they do have, those benchmarks. How much service, how many years, were they a resident of the town of Fort Myers Beach? Cumulative hours of service plus monetary. I will tell you that I did ask the Friends just to kind of come up with a number, and this is not all that Dan had given, but he bequeathed $25,000 upon his death to the Friends of the Mound House. And I know that it was that and more for the furnishings of the living room. And that's not counting like the benches that he bought for the living room. Those were $6,000, and he gladly gave me the check for that. He was never, he just, okay, here. So, and I that was just in the time that I've been here. So when you're thinking about the benchmarks and criteria of what did they contribute, and I know, Sherry, that it's very hard when you were doing the founders and things, but be thinking of those things that you deem appropriate. Then it has to be over 50,000. I just know it is, and that's just the things that I had, and I've only been here 8 years, so.
Well, he paid for the storage of all the furniture.
Oh, I forgot about that seal until it got, that's right, yeah, but.
No, I can't.
I've asked the Friends to try to come up with some kind of, if you all really needed that benchmark, of course, so, but I was unable to get anything right now, but when you're thinking of that criteria, and just like Jim was saying, years of service, and were they a resident or political, what kind of contribution did they give? Time to me is invaluable. You don't know how much time that you have, and I can easily write a check, and that's great too, but I think that also is really important in the criteria, all the hours of service, not only to the town, but the aquarium and the Mound House.
Right.
So all of those things to kind of think about as you all develop this and the request that is being made, would that somehow be able to fit into that criteria? And I think that would be a good start, just to try to think about and see if we could make that happen.
Something else Dan did too is to the Friends, he offered his service that whole time as our
You're
attorney.
still, Michael is still offering the services.
Treasurer and he, any attorney.
Right.
But the family, Michael is still doing the
Right,
stuff.
Michael's still
exactly.
doing it,
Exactly.
so.
He's a
It goes on and
volunteer.
on.
He's a very good volunteer.
I just would hope that we can be even-handed with regard to future tributes of people who have also made incredible contributions of time and talent.
Right, yes.
At the time when it's appropriate to give them the honor and recognition that they deserve, that we could be even-handed in terms of how that's to be recognized. And that's where it gets a little tricky, because there's only one road, there's only one observation deck, there's only one, fishing pier. So that's where we have to step back and say, how do we make this equitable for all the founders?
I was gonna say, that might be a good way to include the founders, which, rather than a written plaque with names on it, I like that better than,
Well,
we could
because-
have- how about Seagull Observation Deck?
Well, the thing is, you may miss someone because
That
there
was
was
the- that was the
somebody
only
who was
concern.
quietly behind the scenes and didn't show up for meetings or something, where there were so many people funneling in stuff.
Oh, you bet.
And, they wouldn't know,
But I'm thinking of Anita, I'm thinking of you, I'm thinking of you, Betty, I'm thinking of all the people, and of course, the mayor himself, actively and,
and those first docents,
consistently supporting.
those first docents that arrived, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday,
Right.
You don't, it's so hard.
It is hard.
It's a problem we ran into with a plaque. And I kind of like this idea that we can, certain areas that we can name for our founders, maybe.
Right,
You know,
right.
I think that would be a
Right.
good
I wish there was a word that would cover
Why not?
those people.
Barbara, Dan,
I'm sorry, yes,
Certainly.
by all means.
I'm going to leave and then let you
Okay.
amongst yourselves. But, I was, Ray Murphy again, thank you, Madam Chair. I was thinking about my experience over at Lover's Key. We were involved originally with the original group out of Bonita Springs, CAB, they called themselves, Citizens Association of Bonita Beach. And I was involved with them in the early 80s when we were hacking out the trails to start Lover's Key, the state park, when it was purchased by the state to preserve and so forth. But then a friends group started, and we were all involved in that. And then I served on that for several years as the president and so forth. Then it was our dream to have this welcome center, and of course then I left, and then people came, the real dynamos came after me, and by God they raised the money, and today that building is there, and it's absolutely beautiful, and they're doing the same thing, they're selling opportunities in the rooms and so forth and so on. It's just the business way to do things now.
Exactly.
And I get all that. I get that. But there are also places over there that are named for certain people that have been around for eons and that have died and so forth. A butterfly garden or this or that. People have been named after people that were not done for fiscal purposes. They were done for remembrances, honorarium. And so that's really, again, that was the point of what I was trying to do here. But so anyhow, I'm going to let you discuss further without me being here staring at you. And I wish you all well. Jim, thank you for your service to the group. Allison, thank you. And we'll see you all later. Take care.
Thanks for coming.
Okay, what did I miss?
Sorry?
Did I miss anything when I had to step out? Okay.
no, just, what did I do with my pen?
But
My pen.
Further thoughts? Lori, I've not heard from you.
Actually, I was going to say pretty much something that's already been said, that, naming the loop, I don't see how it affects anything, and that would really be a lovely tribute. So, And as for, using naming opportunities as fundraisers, well, we've already started with the Friends, and
Yes.
of course, that's something that we should continue and really take advantage of.
Well, so then I guess the question is, how do you divide what is going to be a memorial or a remembrance from a naming opportunity? How is
Right.
that going to
Well-
happen? And what requires funding to be named and what requires, the
Honorary.
past deceased service? So maybe that's the conversation at this point.
Well, like, excuse me, Sherry Smith, we'll be naming the benches. I mean, and the benches are gonna be bought, so that will be a fundraiser.
Right.
Definitely. So, I
Yeah,
mean, that will
Well,
be,
and
that
that's
will bring in,
different.
and
Yeah.
that's different.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
people will have that opportunity to name
Right.
it, whereas there really are certain, and like I said, that just opens it up for me as far as the founders, because we were just
Oh, yes.
floundering
Yeah.
around,
Yeah, we were.
And I think this would be a great way to honor the people that actually, got the Mount House started. So I think I'm fine with that. I think that's great.
I think that in terms of things done as honorariums,
Honorarium.
those will come up individually across time.
All the time, yeah.
And they will be judged individually as each one comes. I don't know that we need to set a precedent or say, okay, this is what we'll do. I think when it comes up,
We'll
it's
know it.
something. Exactly.
I think you're right.
I would just add to that, I think that's true, Lori, and I think too, maybe just to put some constraint on it, maybe we just, in that honoraria dynamic, maybe we require that the recipient be deceased, just to kind of take the politics out of it and take some of the
that's a
pressure off.
good
I
Yeah,
think that kind of went without saying.
Yeah.
but
That they
well,
should be deceased?
yeah, I think for the honoraria, I think if someone wants to purchase a bench for someone who's living and they're willing to spend the money, I think from a business standpoint, we would be remiss not to accept it, but if someone's gonna be honored without making a contribution for their service, maybe they should be deceased, just to avoid any, or to reduce the number of challenges.
So then that sort of begs the question with regard to the bench's fundraiser, but you're saying if somebody's deceased and the family wants to memorialize them, and that individual made a contribution to the Mount House in some way, that they shouldn't have to pay for it.
Oh, no, I think that's a prerequisite to being honored without making a contribution. If you want to name a bench after someone who's deceased to honor them, or buy a bench to honor someone who's still living, absolutely appropriate. Just in the category of honoring someone for their service versus their contribution, I think that we should require that maybe that person be deceased, just to, because otherwise you're going to have, you could create awkward situations, I think is,
I find this already awkward.
yes, it is awkward, yes, it is, no question about it, yeah,
Really?
yeah.
There really aren't that many if you really stick to founders. I mean, the real instrumental, it was Ted, and.
Marcia?
Marcia, and Anita,
Yep.
and, I mean, there were just,
And that fellow Russ lived in the tall,
Lindstrom?
yeah, Eisler.
yeah.
But I'm talking about the ones that just really came in and said, we have got to save this property.
That was Ted and
And that
Marcia.
was
And was-
Ted, Marcia, and then they brought Anita in.
And then, but Dan wasn't part of that.
Later on.
No,
Right, so he was never considered one of the founders.
But he was, right.
Arrington was
we don't-
the,
Yeah, but we don't have to say even founder, we're just honoring these people, right?
Right, I
So-
just.
and I think that's a way to
Yeah,
have
those-
that, right.
But I also think it's kind of, the way I'm visualizing it is, this isn't something we do. Somebody comes to us, like Ray did.
Right, exactly.
And then says, hey, could you consider doing something for so-and-so because they, whatever. And that's the vision I have for this type of dedication.
Okay,
So
I'll
Lori,
just mention one thing. We've got to be very careful. Because when I was the volunteer, I was told, you must get 11 people together. And there was a list of those 11 people that offered. And by gum, if you're gonna miss somebody on that 11,
Yep, yep, exactly.
give me a break, you know. There, it's gonna come up, and it would spoil the whole idea of the oneness. So we've got to come up with an idea
That's not personal.
that's not personal.
Yeah, it can't be personal.
Because I can think of those people that well, you were one of them.
It sure was.
And the thing is, having coffee and rolls on a Saturday morning and getting more recruits and stuff, you're gonna miss somebody and they're gonna be hurt and come out of the woodwork.
That's why we kind of went,
Well, and I wonder too if this is unique because I don't want to put words in the mayor's mouth. I think the desire is to honor Dan not only for his service to the Mound House, but his service to the town of Fort Myers Beach,
Community.
which is somewhat unique because he really wears both hats. And since it is a town property, and it's unique in that sense, maybe that's part of our criteria as well, is that they have broader service to the community. Yeah.
Yes.
So that would be something, Lori, people coming, but maybe just a little bit of some guidelines to kind of go through, just as you all are discussing
You can
this.
say, you can say
criteria.
that, his leadership position as mayor for X number of terms, his volunteer efforts for the Friends, his monetary contributions cumulatively made this
Right.
honorarium. was-
Plus the LPA and all the audit committee. I mean, he had town service as a town official, definitely, but then he continued to be and serve the town through those committees.
And if we lay that out, it sets a pretty high precedent for the future, I think. Not many people could follow that, yeah.
Well, and I think that's a really good point, to make sure you have those benchmarks that that are there. So it's just established. And
Right.
and then that's what would guide things moving forward.
And that
Now,
would
the
certainly
question
help
is
us with
this
the
a-
guidelines.
Is this in perpetuity, or is this for a period of 25 years? Is this for a period of 50 years?
perpetuity.
I would think in
Why do you have
perpetuity.
to
I
have
mean,
that?
No, that's, yeah.
Are you gonna
It's
change
named,
it
isn't
in-
it? Always
Yeah, no.
Not necessarily.
No, not necessarily at all.
Or, they,
Yeah, but they give money for that. That's a
Yeah,
sponsor.
that's right,
That-
that's a
that-
sponsor.
That's
I
like
see.
a fundraising, like the benches are good for 10 years. I mean, I'm just making that up.
Yeah.
But that would be for fundraising criteria for, that's where the terms I've seen.
And oddly
buy that
enough,
for 10 years.
when Hertz makes a contribution like that, it's generally contractually for a period of time, and that's agreed on ahead of time, yeah.
Has a time frame.
Good point.
Would there be an opportunity for this recognition to be the garden pathways rather than the road?
I think Mr. Mayor really would love the little road. That seems to be his wish.
Well,
I don't want to speak for him, but that's what I've gathered from his.
All right, so how in any of the, if people are taking a tour, for example, other than the one sign, how else would Dan be recognized on the property?
Sounds like Mr. Mayor just wants
Period room.
just a little sign.
a little sign for the loop.
Something lane.
Ann and Dan Hughes Lane
Yeah.
on the entry.
Hughes Family Lane, Hughes Lane?
Ann and Dan Hughes Lane, or Hughes Lane, he had different,
Hughes Lane he
Hughes-
kept going
I
back to.
liked Hughes Lane,
Yeah,
that's, or Loop,
yeah.
either one.
yeah, that was.
Yeah,
Because we do have, yeah, I think that would, so Hughes Lane certainly could work.
And he was not specific with visuals of what the actual sign would look like. He did mention he didn't, fluorescent.
He said at the council meeting that he would like to have the name Dan and Ann used in the sign, didn't care about the sign, or he didn't care about the word that follows, whether it's lane, way, circle, whatever but I'm just saying I'm just giving you a sense of what he said at the council meeting,
He
yeah.
did want Ann and Dan, yeah.
right, yeah.
Further
Well,
discussion?
that kind of separates it out. So that makes sense for us. and
So
Makes
as
it
far
much
as-
easier.
As far as the naming rights policy, we can table that conversation for a future date for putting ultimately all of that into our strategic plan as part of our fundraising initiatives going forward.
Yes.
And with regard to then establishing these naming opportunities that would be then a memorial opportunity, how would that work? Who would determine which of these is a memorial opportunity, not a naming opportunity?
Well, I think Lori's comment with, as it comes in, you know, just speaking personally, everybody has a different desire or a different vision for things. So I don't know how you can, I would never have even thought about you know what I mean, what the mayor had, you know, had proposed. I never even thought about that before, but you know, so I don't know how to separate those, is what I'm saying, I guess,
Right,
because
and
there's
even-
certain people that just have a love for things and different places and objects or views or just, you know, and how do you kind of compartmentalize all that?
And, you know, if this in fact is setting a precedent because of his many contributions, both financially, which is considerable,
And the town
cumulatively,
service.
well over 50,000 or even
Himself.
maybe 75,000.
You bet.
And then, to your point, Jim, about his service to the town as mayor and, you know, all of the other advisory boards, plus all of his work with the Friends.
Right.
So cumulatively, that would establish a precedent for which a memorial would be appropriate.
Considered, yes.
So, in other words, some Tom, Dick, and Harry wants to come in next week, oh, my Aunt Harriet just died, and she used to be a member, but therefore, because she was a member, I want her to be, so now that we've established a criteria, well, when did they serve as mayor? How much have they contributed?
were they
So if you're comfortable with saying that Dan Hughes is setting this criteria for naming or memorializing an individual who's now deceased, that would be what could be the difference between a
Naming
bee habitat or the observation deck.
Exactly.
Very well said.
It's another way of saying, show me the money. Sorry.
Naming rights has dollars to it.
You know, I have to tell you, where this all comes from is the Newtons. The Newtons never gave a penny to the town.
They did not.
It's a sticky wicket in everybody's mind, and Betty, you can attest to this as
I can
well.
attest to it. You bet.
So, yeah,
That's sure good criteria.
I mean, to have an entire town park named after a person who didn't contribute a dime to the town is disgraceful.
Right. We have tried 7 Cs many times.
Yeah.
and
That's still on the strategic plan, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still on there
Good.
as a long-term goal.
All right, where are we with this?
Yeah, I think we have two different things.
I think, all right, for the purpose of today's meeting, we can table naming right policy discussions for a future date, when we are going to be reviewing our strategic planning for the future. So, and then we will determine what those naming opportunities are. I would think that the observation deck would certainly be one. That's huge.
It is huge. It's the biggest thing on there.
Exactly.
It's lots of dollars.
I think the garden pathways is a wonderful opportunity as well. The benches, the Friends are already taking care of that. The Friends are already taking care of the oyster habitats too, right? Is that also a Friend? Okay, so those two are being held by the Friends. So for the purpose of this conversation, if a small, discrete sign that states it's in memory of Anne and Dan Hughes. So it would say Anne and Dan Hughes Lane.
That's what I've heard Mr. Mayor say over.
He didn't care on the lane, circle, way, whatever he deferred to CELCAB on that.
But the Ann and Dan Hughes.
Yes, absolutely, yep.
And that could be, where would that one sign be placed?
Well, I think that's a great opportunity for you all to help assist with that and make a
Because it
recommendation.
could be placed right there by the bay, by where the little bike path, the pedestrian walkway right at the end by the bay, or it could be at the parking garage area.
Where you come in, either where you come in somewhere, at the end
What
of
do
the
you think,
cul-de-sac.
Cecile?
Well, I think one where you drive in and around.
Yeah, from
That
the
it-
cul-de-sac, right after the.
Right
cul-de-sac,
there near the
where
waterfront.
Osprey Toll is,
At the waterfront.
At the
yeah.
waterfront, and
Yes.
that would be really
where the
be
Osprey
more
Toll is.
noticeable.
Where the Osprey
would make
Pole
sense.
is.
Yes.
Yeah, that would make, if it's
I
a
think so.
circle or a loop, sure.
Right. Perfect, yeah.
Okay, and that's the only lettering that we would want on it.
Yes.
That's, to my knowledge, it was just Ann and Dan Hughes, and then whatever the last word is that you all deem appropriate. Loop, lane,
I like loop.
loop.
Loop
I
sounds
like
nice.
Loop sounds
Yeah.
like Everglades.
I think that's lovely.
Yeah, I do too.
Hughes Loop, Hughes Loop, Hughes Loop.
Lovely, lovely, lovely.
I like that or
Well, it
circle.
is a loop,
It is
and that's
exactly
different
a
from
loop.
lane, so it would be it would be much more specific. Circle would be the
Be
same, I would
memorable.
think. Yes, memorable.
Does someone wanna, do we need a motion on it?
Well,
or-
I mean, should we, any more discussion on this?
I think we're good.
Then I will entertain a motion.
Okay. Betty, you're a good motion maker. I can try, let's see.
I'll second it for you.
Let's see,
You're good at this, honey.
Yeah, we are.
yeah. You wanna do it?
In memory of? No.
No, in
No.
Moran, no,
No,
that's what I was,
no.
said, in Moran.
Honorary.
In honor,
Yeah,
Honorary.
in honorary, we approve, I make a motion that we approve an honorary sign, small sign?
Small discreet sign at the
At the
entrance
entrance
to,
to the Mound House. And should we say the Shell Drive?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
naming
Yeah.
the
Naming the
Shell
Shell
driveway
Mm-hmm.
The
Ed
and
and Dan
Dan
Hughes
Hughes Loop.
Loop.
I second it.
All right, yeah.
Ooh, that was a,
That was hard work.
Yep, yep,
yeah,
yep.
that was a very mutual,
Okay, any further discussion?
I guess we're,
That's lovely.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? The
Unanimous.
ayes have it. Motion carries.
So, Ms. Chair, would you like to make a recommendation on that to the council meeting on the 1st of August?
Well, I think that is part of the, who's going to give a report to CELCAB, I mean, from CELCAB, because
Right.
it
And
says
you-
appoint a member of CELCAB to take recommendations.
Right.
So who would like to bring that to the
You already said you were going to.
council? But I'm sure there'll be other things that we're going to be reporting, right?
The fee schedule and that, yeah. Mhm.
Right, so
Recommendation.
who would like to give the report to CELCAB, August 1st,
I have a doctor's appointment, I can't do it.
okay?
I'm not available.
I can do it.
She says, putting it like that.
I can do it.
All right, Sherry.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
August
Barbara, I
1st.
thought you said you were going to do it in the email.
Well, I did say I was going to do it, but then it
just wanted to
says to
open it.
appoint someone, which means I can't appoint myself, so.
Barbara, would you like to do it?
No, it's fine.
No, 'cause
It's
you're-
perfectly fine.
That's true, sorry.
I'll jump at the chance.
Yeah.
It's
I
an
figured
honor
if
to come
someone
before them.
wasn't coming forward, I would do it, but now that you've
no,
come,
well-
no,
well-
this is great. No, it's lovely, you're too late.
And you like that time of day anyway.
And I think it's good for the council to hear from other members
Oh, I
of
think it is
CELCAB.
too.
I think it's dispersing the responsibility, because this is a collective.
Right.
You know, I may be presiding over meetings, but I'm certainly in no way, the person in charge. So I want to make sure that council is aware that these are team conversations to be had.
And on Tuesday, they get to listen to me on BORCAB.
On board cab, exactly.
So that's
So that's why I thought,
Will the council have a copy of the fee?
Yes.
Okay, good, then I wouldn't have to go through. Okay.
All right, going on then to item number 7, review the fee schedule for Mound House and Newton Beach Park. And I just have to add that I appreciate our councilperson, Jim Adderholt's recommendations with regard to fee increases. I think that was certainly in keeping with whatever else is going on, not only nationally, but globally with inflation. So it is appropriate for us to review and revise and upgrade our fees. And that goes not only for museum admission, but also for facility rental fees. So Allison has provided you with the comparables.
Yes, this was something that Jim actually had asked me about at a council meeting. I couldn't pull the information up, but I had supplied this to you all the first time that we had discussed about the $5 increase for admissions, and also the kayak tours going up a little bit. And so I want to make sure you all don't have any questions, because, you know, this committee is the advisory committee to make these recommendations, whether, you know, and if it's different, then this is the time to be able to say, we recommend this change, and this is just a starting point. Now, we have never raised any fees over 7 years that we've been open. And also something to remember, with every rental, with every admission and any program, when you come, you have free parking at the Mound House. So I want you all to remember that when you're looking at any rental fees or anything. Now, Newton Beach Park, it's $5 an hour. So that's an addition per space, but when we're talking about the Mound House, it is free parking for people who come to visit for admission, or if they do a rental and they want to have 100 people come, we offer free parking for them. So I want to make sure that, that's why I put that, you know, includes free admission and free parking when you go on that 3-hour tour, you know, and you go 2 hours to the kayak tour. And well, that alone, if you were at Newton or another space for the town, not to include other facilities, that's $15 right there. And the cost is, you know, $50. Plus you get museum admission, which is a $25 value. And plus you're getting the kayak tour, so.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question of Allison?
Sorry.
Could I ask a
Oh,
question?
I'm sorry, I thought you were asking Allison.
No, I wanted to ask your permission first to ask Allison. Allison, I thought when this initially came up before CELCAB, I'm almost certain that the fee for residents was to remain the same. Has that changed since we last met?
But it can go back to not, to remaining. Now, it didn't go up as much as, because it went up $2.50.
I just think there's something special about, even though I can't imagine financially it's going to add up to a lot of money, but I think in principle, I think it makes it easier for the council to sell when we're keeping the resident rate the same. I think it's showing a sensitivity to the people who live here, and I think that it softens the ability, the other pieces of this in a way that I think is helpful. If that doesn't affect you adversely, could you just out of curiosity, what's the percentage of people who come to the Mound House that are residents versus non-residents? I assume it's mostly non-residents initially, right?
Yes, and I can pull that information from last fiscal year. But, you know, again, these last 5 years since Irma has been a very odd.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And so, you know, I can give you an average for that.
As long as you don't think it would hurt your fiscal needs to keep the residential rate the same, I would recommend that we do that, just because it just makes the whole process a lot smoother, I think, to go before the council when we're showing sensitivity to the residents of our island, particularly if it's not going to impact your broader needs. What do you think? Well, I throw that out to all of CELCAB.
CELCAB is.
I agree.
I would support that for sure.
Yeah,
Yes,
I like that.
indeed.
That's what we want to encourage
bet.
anyway, are the people on the island to visit the museum, so.
And they're bringing their family and they're paying the.
Right, right. They-
That's right,
rate
Lori.
For their
Right.
family members.
And many of them have been many times, so for them to pay,
Yeah,
Exactly,
exactly.
but they will be bringing friends and family who pay the higher rate.
That's right.
Yep, yep.
Okay, are there any other, are you all making a recommendation to, can you make an official motion whenever you figure out all the fees?
Just a real quick question, if that's okay. You've got students at $8, and you've got kids at 6 to 12 at 5, and that all sounds really good. But what about Lee County Elementary School student tours? That's not listed, or did I miss it?
So, Lee County Schools is where it says proposed students for each activity, it's $250 per activity, per child.
Okay.
It's in red, a few ones down. The student rate are just like families that come in, Lori, so it's not the same as our student
That's,
groups.
and I didn't see that on this list.
Yeah, but
So
it's
that's-
on,
yeah, it's on here.
Yeah,
Right, gotcha.
yep.
And veterans, what our policy with veterans?
Veterans are free.
Free, that's what. I
Yeah,
thought.
teachers are free, and this is year-round. We don't just do it on Veterans Day. That is somewhere here, but,
It's probably in the,
yeah, free admission for retired or active military and their families. And this is on Veterans Day, but we also offer veterans year-round for their service, active and,
Well, and I think that we should put some emphasis, anytime we're talking about it, parking has become such a very difficult situation all over our island, that we emphasize that parking is free here. I mean, and I know we know that, but I think it's important to let people know, okay, well, gee, parking is free at the Mound House. Yeah,
A good point.
so,
that's why I put it in there, Betty, because I thought it was a great value. When you think about some of the places that you go and you have to pay for parking. And we don't charge that for our visitors, so.
Well, and I guess maybe I'm the lone man out, but I disagree with keeping the beach residents at the same fee. I think it should be raised to $7.50, again, because they are getting free parking, and this also provides them with an incentive to become a member, which it means that they have free membership. So 7 years.
Wait, free
Coming-
membership? You
For
mean,
Mound House member,
yeah, if they're a member.
if
they
they're a
do get-
member, they
okay,
can,
yeah. I thought you
yes.
said free
So
membership.
it provides them with it provides them with the incentive to become a member.
Oh, I see, Barbara. yeah.
And so by adding, and it's only $2.50 more. But after 7 years of a huge bargain, by comparison to whatever else is going on, not only on this island, but anywhere, I think it's appropriate to bring it to $7.50. I don't see that, and especially because, we're gonna be having this conversation, Betty, during CELCAB, and there'll be fee increases there. I would like for it to be consistent with what we have at all of our town facilities in terms of increases.
Could you elaborate on that just a little bit more, Barbara, with the CELCAB fees being consistent? Help me understand what you mean by that.
Well, just like we're raising the rates here, we're going to be also raising the rates at CELCAB.
But for residents, there's no charge to use the athletic facilities, right?
That's, I think, the rates for the swim facility, right?
So there's a proposal to offset that budget for increases, because for 13 years, those fees have not been raised, and residents can use the whole recreation center for free. So there will be divisions proposed for the gym usage to be free, but for a small fee or membership, a day pass for the weight room and cardio room for residents, which have never been in 13 years. So I think that's what she's saying. Residents are proposed as a slight increase for all the facilities, and she would want to be consistent of increasing some here and then having an increase for the recreation center and the pool.
I just want it to be consistent,
Yeah.
because if we're raising a rate for a resident at Bay Oaks, we should be consistent with what we're doing here.
What is that fee going to be for a resident to go and use the weight room?
yeah.
or the
No,
gym.
I don't have that now, but that will be in your packet for the M&P, Jim. That's part of the fee schedule, and it's laid out just like this.
I don't have any problem with charging a fee for board camp. I'm just trying to, I was unaware of that piece of the puzzle, yeah.
It helps if I'm serving on 2 committees, because then I know what they're doing.
I just think, and Barbara and I talked about this earlier, as we look at this puzzle, and I had a chance to talk to Allison, Barbara, before the meeting started, and Allison, I'll yield to you again, and just roughly, I don't expect you to know the granular numbers, but I was surprised to hear how much the town subsidizes, and I don't use that in a pejorative sense, subsidizes the Mound House, and is so much a partner with the Mound House. The revenues that are derived from the Mound House only pay for we were guessing around 20%, maybe 25%.
Yeah, depending on the year, because.
Yeah, no, I understand.
We've had a lot of.
But I don't think most people know that the town has a significant role in supporting the Mound House the way they do fiscally. And so we're really sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul when we charge our residents more, because they're going to pay more as residents for taxes. I mean, it's all going to come out in the wash somehow. So, but the way I look at that is that if I'm paying $5 and I've been to the Mound House 10 times, Barbara's point about joining a membership is a whole different issue and a good one. But I think if I'm got lots of friends and family in town, and I'm always encouraging to take them to the Mound House, if I'm only paying $5 each time I go, even though I've been many times, but my friends and family from out of town haven't gone, you're in essence an ambassador for the Mound House, and it seems like we would want to do as little to them in terms of admission fees as possible to keep encouraging them to bring others who are visiting. But I don't know. You guys have been around this a lot longer than I have.
That's a good point. So to just emphasize his point, it's got to come out of somewhere. Okay, so you have a budget. It can come out of taxes, and the tax rate is a certain amount, or you try to recoup it with, there's several different ways that this can work, and this is just one of the different ways that it can be, but it has to come out of somewhere. So that's the recommendation, and then, of course, the final decision will be on council to be able to see where that is going to come from. And that is to the point that, and it's a very good point, but not a decision for me to make. I'm only just kind of recommending things and putting them out there for discussion, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Mayor, are you interested in making another comment, or is this?
No, excuse me, I wanted to drop that to seal.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Good job today. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Mayor, you should know that your request was fully accommodated by CELCAB today. Yeah.
I texted you, but you hadn't.
You're welcome.
With bells on.
Yep.
You're as smart as you are beautiful.
Ooh. He's so smooth. He always has.
he
See, Jim, you are beautiful.
But could I?
Well, actually, and this is the where the rubber hits the road, because we're talking about the town budget here, and this is really a council conversation, not an advisory board. But the rationale for raising these rates has to do with making sure that Allison can keep with the budget she's been given by town staff. And so if there's a pushback by the citizens because we're raising rates, then the argument could be made, well, we're just going to have to raise the millage rate. And so then your property taxes will be affected. And, that's a lot more painful, I would think. But then, do understand that we as the town of Fort Myers Beach have one of, if not the lowest millage rate in all of Lee County. And I'm not quite sure where that all is this year, but I can tell you, this living on the beach by comparison is a bargain for our property owners.
And I don't disagree with that. I guess what I was is not so much the overall revenue impact of this proposal, although that's important. I was just thinking that, and again, you all have so much more experience in this than I do, but if for residents it remains $5, will that have the impact of actually generating more revenue by encouraging those residents to continue to come back on a regular basis every time a visitor comes to town and bring those friends and family with them? versus does it get, at what point do they begin to say, well, gosh, I just was there last week, but if it's only $5, I'll go back again and I'll take all my friends and family. But I don't know that the aggregate impact of that. I just think that we want our residents to be our ambassador to the Mound House and have them bring all the people that come to visit here to Mound House as many times and as often as possible. And I don't want to I know $2.50 isn't necessarily going to discourage that, but cumulatively, if someone's visiting the Mound House 5 or 6 times, because we all have visitors on a regular basis down here, everybody loves to come to Fort Myers Beach, I just think it may have an unintended consequence. I'm just thinking out loud, really. I don't have the data to back any of this up. Yeah.
And building on your comments, that is certainly a concern. However, if people who live here on the island have visitors and they are advocating for coming to the Mound House, the first thing they would do if they would look
Get a
at that
membership,
is buy a membership. And buy, whether it's a dual membership or a family membership or, a donation in the $500 a year category, then they can bring as many people as they want for free after that.
That's a fair point, yeah.
Again, we're trying to provide the encouragement for all beach residents to be members at some level.
That's a good point.
And just for, being there and, working at the Mound House, one of our key points is getting people on the island to come in. And when I know it's a resident, I really thank them, because it's been a big problem. And I think if they feel that they are valued, and with the $5, hey, I'm a little special, I think it's the least we can do. I
That's a
think
good point, Sherry. Very good point.
Okay, so you all, what I need from you today, and I know we've been going for an hour and a half now, so I don't want to have the meeting too long. Please make your recommendations and have a consensus, because then you will be taking that to council on the meeting for the 1st. They'll have the M&P on the 4th, where they will review the budget and the fees, and then they can hear your recommendation on those fees. So let's.
Well, I think we need to establish a consensus. So I don't know that we need to really do a vote. I'm opposed to changing the budget as you've presented. So I would advocate for raising that to $750, but I understand the majority of you really feel that it's appropriate to leave it at $5. So that would be a majority consensus.
Okay. So we'll make that change. Are there any other changes that you all think? I do have one new membership, that is the proposed dual membership plus the NARM, which is fantastic, and we're excited to be able to do that. Also this year, for our membership appreciation, we're going to be offering members who are current members to have their guests come in for free for a whole week. And we're going to do that in December, so we're really excited to offer that new incentive for members to be able and to do it in December. So hopefully to have some company come in and they can bring some guests to the Mound House. So we're really excited about that. And then we will also have our membership appreciation that I would love to have on our 7-year anniversary as a free admission day, like we did when we were open. So lots of opportunities for people to come in and just get on the property and then tell everybody that they know to come. So are there any other questions about, so you all want to make a motion with that one amendment to the fee schedule, and then?
I think you were asking actually for a consensus.
Yes,
We did
yes.
a consensus. It doesn't require board action, I don't believe, because these are really sort of recommendations to
They
council.
are recommendations, yeah.
But I think you have the recommendations that have been stated today. I mean, if you want to make a motion, by all means.
That's okay. I just need you all to have a consensus, so when you present this, then I'll make that one change for a recommendation.
Right. Okay, you got that, Sherry? That the one change on that is to maintain the $5, not the
Oh, yes, I
increase.
have, yes.
Now, again, understand that these are recommendations that CELCAB gives to council. The council may very well decide to override that recommendation, so just bear that in mind. Okay, let's move on to number 9, the director's report, because
So
it's
this is
moving along.
So we are offering, Penny has been so generous to be able to offer a new Holbrook travel trip. Please look at the flyer, just got released, so we're very excited about that. I hope you all got to see ABC News and you were up at 5:45 to see our segments yesterday. If you missed them, I guess they're on our Facebook page. So just to let you know that also I'm going to be a part of the Eye on Travel. It's a radio interview with Peter Greensburg. He is CBS Radio, so I get to be interviewed on August 9th, and I'll let you know when that airs. Really exciting opportunity to bring Mound House into the international and national, media. So really excited. VCB gave me a call yesterday, and I'm going to be doing that on August 9th. So I'm really excited to tell our story about the Mound House. Our accreditation, we are going forward with that, and I did email you all an article about why accreditation matters. Now, some of you were on the Friends, got that as well. Please read that and let me know if you have any questions. We are going to be going for our organizational map assessment, which has been officially sponsored by the Friends of Mound House, so they're going to pay for that fee to do that. That opens up February to December 2023 is our first assessment. And we are going to be applying for that as soon as the applications are open, and I'll keep you posted on that. And then also our stabilization project with University of Florida, Florida Public Archaeology Network, and University of Georgia, and others are still scheduled for September the 18th, so I'll keep you posted on the research that we're going to do there. And lots of wonderful things happening at the Mound House. We've been busy. Bobby Feldman is leaving us, and so we've got the education manager position open. So we are excited to have an addition, but very sad Bobby is going to Tallahassee. So please stop by and see him if you'd like to see him, because his last day is Saturday. So, yeah. So, yes.
On the stabilization of
It's not the wall, it's just the units. We're not doing the wall yet, just the units.
just the units.
That's where we start.
Okay, I
Has to be
just
a-
wondered because,
Yeah, no, it's got to be
there's
a
always
legal
We've
phase.
been waiting and waiting and waiting for this. How long has it been since we
I've
started?
been working on this since I got here, so.
Yes.
To do the first phase, so 8 years I've been working on it, so, yeah, we're ready. It's gonna be great.
it will be, it will
Yes.
be. How are you for, because I'm so out of it now, how are you for docents and things like that for volunteering and everything? Are you full capacity, or,
No.
I just kind of wondered.
He is our only volunteer right now at the Mound House. Dick is going away. Well, everybody's on vacation. Becky's gone. Dick is leaving. We have next week, you're it.
And I'm, luckily, a new person came in, and she's gonna shadow me.
Yes, for
on
Saturday,
Right,
yes.
on Saturday, so we might.
Wow.
So it's just that time of year, Seal, where, everybody's traveling and they're doing stuff. And then the majority of our docents are up north. But we do have some new ones starting, and we look forward for people coming back. But it has been very slim this year. I wonder if it's because nobody really traveled before, and now everybody's wanting to do that, so. You stop by anytime, Seal. You just come on down there.
Biggest thing, the best thing I ever,
Everybody would love to see you.
Yes.
oh,
I was gonna say, doesn't that provide you with some impetus to jump
boy,
back?
I would love to do it.
I know you would.
Any more questions about the director's report?
No, I just want to make special note that you are definitely ready for the lead class, leadership lead
Yes,
class.
I'm all set. I got my letter. Today.
Congratulations, and it
Yes,
was
I got-
approved?
It was approved, and my first date, I think I have orientation on the 24th of August, and then it starts the 31st every Wednesday.
Yep.
And it goes through the 16th of November. And then we have a leadership luncheon on the 17th. Thank you for bringing that up, because I wanted to mention that. I just got my email today. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And
Yes.
you will
Alice.
enjoy it.
So excited.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
It is going
It's
to
a-
be a hugely satisfying and educational experience for you on
And I was-
so many levels, and I'm so glad you got into this
Thank
year's
you
class.
very much.
And I'm so tickled about Karina.
Yes,
Yes.
me too.
I imagine she's just thrilled,
We are all really excited she's back.
because she has that whole background and everything else.
We're very
Wonderful, wonderful.
It's
an outstanding program, I'll tell you. You will love it.
I just
I'm
want to,
looking forward to it, Betty.
congratulate Alice on her incredible leadership of the Mound House and what she's been doing in terms of this schedule. very ambitious and very well-run. Thank you.
You're
Well,
welcome.
the thing is, for those of us, and we've all been here for so long, to see how far she's become of what we have there, and it just,
I know.
it's just wonderful.
Does all of this happen? The
Yeah.
Mountain House is like amazing.
That first time that we were doing those tours,
Yeah, oh, I
And
remember.
it's open, all of the days now, and, yeah,
For now, it is, yes, we're really excited.
that's really something, really
it's
something.
huge.
Yes, Sherry?
I have, a question, just mainly for my notes and everything, that a vet brought some type of a certification. I need the actual name of the certification she got for the wildlife.
Yes, it's the national, it's in the minutes there.
Oh, is it in there? I
It
was
is. It's,
looking for it.
Yes,
I
it's
have
in the minutes.
National
It's the
Federation.
National Federation. We got certification as a natural, it is, it's in the
Certification natural for, and I just have natural.
natural wildlife habitat.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And I'm trying to think of where I saw, and it's mentioned in this thing,
Oh,
the sign or something about the seven, is it on the computers, or the 7 best things to do in Fort Myers? Where did I see that sign? And we're in the Mound House.
I think it was TripAdvisor, wasn't it?
TripAdvisor, we were
I think
three
you,
for a
I
while.
think you had mentioned it in
On
our
page
meeting
3.
last month.
Yeah,
I think it was in your last month's director's report that we were like right up there with the Edison.
That's
Ford.
what I
I
thought.
think it was top 3.
oh, that was the VCB from October to.
Yes,
Yeah,
the VCB.
That's right, that's right. So Sherry, it's the National Wildlife Federation and Florida Wildlife Federation, and that is who deemed us a certified wildlife habitat that we got for our gardens and our
National-
landscape.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, it was, yeah,
it's on page 3.
on page 3.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll find it. there.
Director's report under page 3, so that's what it is. National Wildlife Federation and Florida Wildlife Federation is the organization that deemed us a certified wildlife habitat. We met certain criteria to be able to do that, so.
Okay, thank you, Allison.
welcome.
for your
Thank you very
director's
much.
report. I'd like to recognize our town manager, Roger, who is here today, and I'm wondering if you would, you're.
He's just in the.
He can have a cookie, I think he can. Oh, you can have
He came, did you come for a cookie?
I really don't come to any other committee meeting except as a cookie. No, I'm kidding.
Well, just for you, just for the fact that you showed up, you get 2 cookies.
So, well, thank you.
Yes, and then
feel
we'll send
real
him
good.
down the line.
Well, of course, I always like to begin by thanking you for all of your time and effort to volunteer to be on our committees, and all our committees are important, but of course, CELCAB is one of our most important committees because, you're very focused on one of our most important assets. So I thank you for your stewardship and your love for our facility and your support for Allison and her staff. I'm sure, Allison has told you that we're working very hard on our budgets, and we're trying to make sure that we continue our current level of services, and we're dealing with the same inflation that everyone else is dealing with. And I'm sure she discussed what that means and how we're trying to tackle that issue, and we know you'll be supportive of our efforts to continue to have a top-notch facility, not only at Mountain House and Newton, but throughout all the town's facilities. So, our council's been on a little hiatus for their summer break, but we'll kick things back off next week, and, I'm sure you'll be coming forward to give your status report on your activities, and we look forward to having you.
Jerry's going to give the report.
All right, congratulations, Sherry. I guess you got the short cookie. And of course, all our committees we have a liaison from town council, and, Councilor Adderholt is on top of everything, and I know he works very closely with you all to make sure that, we're as supportive as we can towards your efforts, so. Is there anything I can answer for you this afternoon?
I'd just like to piggyback on what you said about Jim. He has been an excellent representative from the council. He's really.
Outstanding.
Yes, a lot of information, feedback, and it's been very helpful.
He's technically on vacation till Monday, so he came in on a vacation day, so hey, double kudos. Double kudos for that.
And he's, always
Yeah,
here. It's
thank
really
you.
been a great addition.
We appreciate it.
Okay, well, it's always great to see you all, and I do try to stop in and just give you a chance in case there's any questions you would like to ask me directly. So you all have a wonderful afternoon and evening.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
very much.
Roger, for coming by. And really, come get your cookies. Yeah. You have to come. Okay, next item is Friends of the Mound House report, but since Ellen is not here, we're going to wait until she returns for her to give the report then. Board member items, beginning with Lori.
I have nothing.
Okay, thank you. Betty?
I'm just happy to be here.
Yep, same. Sherry?
And likewise, the only thing on upping the fees, I had a couple come in on Saturday, and they were, I think they were students, and they just said, well, we wanted to come here, but we thought it was going to be too expensive. So then we looked at and we saw what it was, and we were so excited.
Oh, that's great.
Well,
So I thought that was,
good.
so I thought that was,
Staying the same.
yep,
That's a very good point.
yeah, so.
You bet.
Okay, and I have
That's it.
nothing to report, except I would hope that whether it's in our strategic plan or in today's meeting minutes, that the criteria established for this street sign has been because of the mayorship of Dan Hughes and all of the other contributions. I know that's not in the motion, but I do want that clarification, so if there are any questions going forward with similar requests.
Should we have a motion on it then, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think it's probably worthy of, yes, and Jim, you have a comment?
I was just going to suggest, when you set your policy for donations, I think we can also include an addendum for what we just discussed, so we could do it at that time.
Okay.
Yeah,
great idea.
absolutely. But I think it's good to put something in.
And maybe that would require, an actual written statement.
Yes,
That I
yeah.
can help, maybe Allison and I can put that together, and we can have that in draft form for our next meeting, so that there's no,
Ambiguity.
thank you,
No confusion.
exactly,
That's good.
okay. Great, thank you, Jim and Seal.
What I wondered, with all the school groups and everything else that come, do you send out flyers, or do they just, to tell that this is available? Or are schools asking to come in, or how do you do that? Because you have all these groups that come. Is it because of your staff sending it out, or they just know that it's there? How does that come about?
So a lot of it is word of mouth. When you send information out through the school system, you have to go through a process. And that's not something that I've had enough staff to do, but I will tell you that staff is wanting to do more outreach. As soon as we get fully staffed, whenever that is, and we have good volunteers, we'll be going out to the schools that can't come to us. But over the years, we have the ones that return year after year.
Right.
And then the teachers always talk about it. So it's a combination, but we don't have flyers that go out to the schools.
But you still have all these groups coming,
We do. We have,
even homeschoolers.
yes,
Okay.
and it's a wonderful wonderful resource for homeschoolers, and we get quite a few of those. So we're excited to be able to serve our groups.
That's great, just great, Allison. Your outreach is terrific.
Well, thank you. We're excited, and we will be sending things out and going to the schools, but not something we've really, we're not finished with that yet.
Future meeting date.
That would be September 22nd at 3 o'clock.
Okay, does that work
September
for everyone's
22nd?
schedule?
Okay.
It'll be time to do the
Maybe out of
strategic
town.
plan
Yeah,
updates.
We'll
That'll
be out of
good.
town.
September 22nd.
Who said out of town? Who said that? Lori,
Lori.
okay.
What about my resignation?
No, well, you're here, aren't you?
Well,
just didn't accept it.
I think you should have somebody that's upcoming.
Are you kidding me? You are on top of everything. I am so thrilled to have you here.
I just kind of feel we want to have, this is such a wonderful thing. And the one thing I am glad is that we're staying as a committee and not merging.
There you go, Seal.
That's very good.
Yes.
Well, but remember, you do have an opportunity, since you kind of had your whet your appetite. And so CELCAB will be meeting on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, and I know several of you said that you would like to learn a little bit more about it, and so this is your opportunity.
Okay.
Come on down.
So come on down, yeah.
All right.
When is that?
Good one,
Okay, is that it? Okay, thank you.
And Seal, I think the, yes and yes, you were lovely to, present that lovely letter of resignation. And I knew that that was presented officially to the county clerks, to the city clerk's
Right.
office. However, because of this issue of merging,
Yes.
the decision was made that you stay right where you are, and there's not going to be new people coming in. We're not asking people to join, so you're in, and we're putting that resignation aside because we want you here.
Thank you, because
And
I love today. I'll have to tell you,
And
I
you-
love today.
You
It gives
are
you strength.
Tremendous in terms of input.
You bet.
So I
Thank you.
respect your opinion, and I want it to continue.
Thank you very much.
Did you get the other meeting on your calendar, Seal, the 22nd?
Yeah, I gave, yeah.
22nd.
Yes, I already put that.
Thank you very much.
There being no.
With respect to the 22nd, just a heads up for whoever's going to be reporting to the council will be having their budget meeting at 5:01 on the 22nd following our meeting. So you'll be right there and able to report immediately, so.
Meeting then? Okay.
Whoa,
We'll
I-
have to be short.
yes,
Not go over for that one.
Good input.
that's your charge.
There you go.
What?
Oh, that's the 22nd, it's not both
Right,
that.
22nd, yeah.
Okay.
22nd.
Okay,
No, that's on me, yikes.
Yeah,
that's right.
Pressure's on.
yep.
All right, there being no further business to come before our advisory board, this meeting is adjourned, and it is 4:47 PM. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Have to